Good evening, and welcome to this Sunday evening's edition of your favorite Sunday afternoon program, Sunday Setti. I am your host, Setti Marshall. And I know we haven't been on for a very long time. Let me not say for a very long time. For a couple of weeks, because we were on a few weeks ago with Richard and Deb. But this afternoon we are on, and I have with me a very, very special guest we're going to chat with a little bit. Now, in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the live, and I am going to encourage you as well to share the live. So I'm going to share it on my page. If you notice, I didn't do any intro because they say upload. This is Sunday setting. Right. So I'm going to share it on my page right now. And then when I've done that, you guys can also, ooh, we look pretty. What's my fee? Anyway, yeah. Uh, on the platform. Right. Special guest, PECIL guest. Uh, all right, all right. Now, this afternoon, we should be getting some additional coverage. I believe. Let me message my partner and tell him we on, and because he's supposed to share it on his page. Um, Uncle, so I share. You see what you see where when you have people in the studio. There's a mute button. There's a mute button. Anyhow, all right. Yes. Um. Okay. They are picking it up, eh? Right. Yes. So I've shared it. You found it on my page? Yes. Look at it. So share it. Oh, yeah, you. All right. So this afternoon, as I said, I'll be chatting with a very special guest that you hear more about, but just to encourage you to share the live. Let me say good afternoon to all those who are watching, wherever you are, and ask you again, as I said, to share the live, calls up somebody, let them know that Sunday set is on. It seems that sometimes everyone doesn't get the notification. And so some people tell me, oh, I didn't get the notification, so I didn't even realize Seti was on. Also, just to ask that if there's an issue with the sound, please let me know. Send us a message so that we will know whether or not the sound is good, and we can always oh, so we can always yeah, look at this one. Share them and put up on your page, right? It's me understand. Anyhow, yes. Um, so let me know if something is good. I see my good friend Ev is on. So let me say hello to Ev in the UK. Uh, he's at work. Okay, but that's all right. That's all right. You would take a peek anyway. Also, don't forget that as of last week, we added a new feature to the program where you can now call and interact. Now, later on in the program, we are going to open up the lines. The number is 532 what's the number again? 532 7650. Is at the bottom running? Okay. So the number is running. I just checked my directory. 532 So you can add it and give us a call or send us a text. You can also send us a text if you so wish, anytime during the program as we open up the line so that you can interact with our special guest. Just to say, I took in some cricket on Friday. Remember, we had our special guest from the West Indies cricket on Friday night. So I took in some cricket on Friday and I really enjoyed those games. I believe tonight is the final from 6. The weather is not the best, so there may be a bit of a delay at the park later on, but you never know. Go out, support female cricket. You would be impressed. Some good cricket is being played down there. All right. Well, so now let's get into the program this afternoon for today's Sunday, May is it 10th? 11th, 2025.
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. Oh, how can I forget? Oh, let me say happy Mother's Day to all the mothers who are looking at Sunday Set today, including my very own mother, Sister Marshall, the mother of my children. Happy Mother's Day to you as well. And I hope you had a fantastic, also wanted happy Mother's Day to you as well. I'm doing that on behalf of other people. Right. So happy Mother's Day to you. I trust you had a good day. Um, and hopefully your children, if they're living with you and so on, did fantastic stuff for you, brought you roses, cooked you meals, whatever and so on they want to do. They did those things for you. All right. Okay. So now we are going to get into the program. And as I said to you, oh, my mother's beautiful. But oh no, she now what she doing. Yeah. As I said to you, have a special guest today. The guest is special because he's family. He is the brother of my mother, which makes him my uncle, Bernard Louis Daisley. Now, most people know him as Louis Daisley. It was not until recently I find out about the Bernard. So if you just find out about the Bernard, you're not the only person, right? But I think recently, I mean like today, but you know. So let me welcome on for the first time on in the studios of any of my programs, my uncle Bernard Louis Daisley. Uncle Louis, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sian, and a pleasure being here. And I also would like to extend Mother's Day greetings to the mothers, all the mothers, my sister. Um, hope that they are enjoying their day today.
I hope so too. Now, before I get any further, right, let me ask, would it be okay if we just call Louis and not everybody uncle?
Oh, yes, man. Don't forget about the uncle. I could just call me that.
I feel like a big man.
Big man.
Yeah,
But-
yeah Louis, over there. I want us to chat a bit about a few things this afternoon, but here what happened to me, right? So recently, I am scrolling through Facebook and so on, and I see your face on Facebook. Now you a quiet man.
Very quiet. I don't really
Um,
much about myself.
I'm picking up all of those songs. So I see thing in the newspaper. Say, okay, I'm blowing easy, right? And I suspect that must have thrust you in the spotlight. And maybe people call me and so on. But you know, we could probably talk about that a little later. But having been thrust in the spotlight, what I'm thinking is having been placed there by what happened recently, I think it is important for people to know who do you be, you know, um, who you be, what's your history, and why it is that you of all people came in the spotlight, name involving Paul and so on. I know you as football president, I know you as different thing, I know you as musician, I know you as my uncle, I don't know you as a politician. So you see Paul, and you're wondering, okay, things are happening. So we could talk a little bit about that, if it does come up at all, because when we open the lines, you never know, people might call and ask and so on. But I really just want to have a discussion with you for the benefit of those who are watching and who may have seen the pictures and the story and so on Asbot News Network, you know, to get a sense of who this post is, who this white-haired man that showed up on the newspaper is. So tell us a little bit about where Louis started.
All right. Yes, Tiana, Louis, you're not that the only one. When I began to go to secondary school, I knew I was named Bernard. Everybody called me Louis all my young life until I reached, I went to Georgetown second primary school and then to Bishop's College in Georgetown.
But which party, which white Georgetown and Bishop College. Let me track back a little bit because many related.
Yes.
And I want us to even go
further
back in terms of the germination.
Germination.
Yeah.
The Daisley name originated in Barbados. And my grandfather, your great grandfather, came to St. Vincent in 1897 and began to teach in Stubbs in 1897. His wife and his children. He had 6 children. Of the 6 children, 4 were teachers.
So that would be your father.
My father, mortal, and the 2 other siblings who died in the early years.
Okay.
That I can't recall them. but the four of them began the teaching career. And then my father continued, and then I have siblings who are teachers.
Uncle John.
Uncle John, Uncle Adam, Panna. Daisley.
And plenty of people supposed to know Pan. Right.
Daisley.
Did Lenny do the teaching?
Lenny did teaching. Terry did teaching. Lenny did teaching. John did teach.
Okay.
Larry taught at Seneca College in Canada. He just retired 2 years ago. Taught at Bay Primary School. I did the first job I got was teaching, but I love my hand, doing things with hands, so that's why I kind of navigated into construction.
Mm-hmm. You do know that the other generation, as you talk about Miss Marshall, one of the coaches, my mother, but I taught, Ingrid taught, Cutie taught, Gemma is currently still teaching. So that's full of that generation. And then you have people like Ricky Granton, and those are the things we talk about.
So teaching, education, development was part of the Daisley plan. And my grandfather never really left Stubbs. In fact, where Carapan Secondary School was my grandfather's property. He lived there till he died, both he and his wife. And that property changed hands to the government in the 70s. However, let me just track back a little, because the Daisley, my grandfather, in 1935, during the riot period, he was also arrested as organizing the outside Kingston riot. Mm-hmm. And he spent the whole weekend in the prison. He was taken up Friday evening and spent the weekend. And there was something that always troubled me, is why? Because he had no connection of which we as the children and grandchildren were aware of. However, someone spoke to me about 4 years ago that there seems to be there wasn't a connection between my grandfather and Marcus Garvey.
The Marcus
Garvey, that when he came to St. Vincent, and then he was at Richards, but I understand he was really at the house right next to the school in Stubbs, that where he stayed sometime, and then that possibly brought confrontation and challenges to the authorities then. So they saw my grandfather as a problem to the thing. My grandfather, I went to several schools. My father being a teacher, traveled. So I went to Stubbs School. I went to Kingston Methodist School. I finished my primary school at Georgetown when my father took up the task of being the principal of Bishop's College, Georgetown.
Okay.
So that's where 6 of my formative years were in Georgetown. So you will hear people saying, I am from Georgetown. I have no problem with accepting that. But the reality is I was born in Stubbs. And so the first 8 years of my life, I lived in Stubbs. Then we went to Georgetown. Then I came back to Stubbs. I also attended St. Martin's Secondary School.
Okay.
And then from there I left. I went to Trinidad. I spent 13 years in Trinidad, developing myself. Also studied in Trinidad, worked in Trinidad, and again in the construction in the field. Then I came back to St. Vincent and developed myself in here again. I had the company building roads, bridges, right across St. Vincent. I think before this I worked in that time, was in Barrowley.
Yeah. So no, if I could step back a little bit, because you said you moved around a bit as a child. in those formative years, outside of Stubbs, where you were born, what would you say is your next favorite place to be?
Oh, Georgetown. Without a doubt, Georgetown. I had a lot of friends going to school with. You can remember the activities. Um, our Bishop's College at that time used to close at 1 p.m. in the evening. So they began, I think, at 7:30 in the morning to 1. And then we had evenings for activities with games or whatever. And I would go down Montyon, Grand Sable Estate, go up in the back, pick mom support in the evening. And if we come home late in the night and it started to get dark, they said, don't eat mom support because it was belly swell tonight. So a lot of these little community activities, I did a lot in Georgetown.
Did you find, Louis, that because I know back in those days, and even to the point when I was a teacher, teachers were held with a bit of a reverence. You know,
Definitely.
the teacher in the area was very respected, especially when you were a head teacher. Did you, as the son of the teacher or head teacher, have difficulty relating with the other children who maybe saw you as, maybe a little bit away or outside of their grouping?
Or should I say that because they wanted to get some favors from my father, they would try to befriend me.
So you were everybody's favorite?
Favorite. I was a very favorite. I was chubby and kind of fatter growing up. And in fact, my siblings, my mother's children, they had a saint before their name. When it reached me, they named me Bernard. And I think my mother had planned Bernadine. And then because she had 5 boys before, now I'm the 6th. And she said when she saw me, saw the face, she said, now I have a girl. But then they realized that they had to change it back to Bernard. Not those days, you didn't have those ultrasound to determine
yes.
It was always a surprise that the day of birth. And obviously I was my mother's favorite because I can't recall ever getting a stroke from my mother. She'll always say, wait till the father come, wait till daddy come, and so on. And daddy was the disciplinarian and as the head teacher.
Okay. Now, one of the other things that I know about the Daisley family, and I can speak to John Daisley, for example, who everyone knows as someone who always managed some sort of band. And I know grandfather had a piano
in the house.
Was a musician. Did you also inherit any type of musical ability?
Everybody in the family had to play an instrument. In fact, we had to play by music, the piano, every morning. After prayer was piano lessons. And then you get to do your chores and then get ready for school to be on time. So, everybody knows John, but Eric, he was an accomplished guitarist. He played with Roland Sardine, had a band in town, and that's what he played. But he left the shows early. So those guys in the past will remember him. Then he did play a little guitar and steel band and played thing. Larry we thought was the better musician than John with the piano.
Okay.
But he didn't continue along that line. John did. I played guitar. I can play clarinet by music. I play piano. Well, to enjoy myself and to play fun probably around. But I'm pretty good at it.
Well, I could give my story with the music part of it. I remember back in, I believe, 1995, 96, when one of my sisters were getting married. At the time, I played trumpet as a little boy, just after school. I used to play trumpet in St. Martin's. John Penn had started a ministry school orchestra. And also Peter started to play trumpet. I remember Uncle Pan had a trumpet too. Yes, these days he never let me touch it, but that's another story, right? And when my sister, she said she wanted me to play the trumpet at a wedding, but I had played the trumpet for a very long time and I didn't have one. So I thought, what can I play? And I remember you had a clarinet. I remember coming to Stubbs and telling you, I want to buy that clarinet. I want to play the clarinet. You asked me, so you could play clarinet? And I never played clarinet, but you showed me things and you just loaned it to me. And within about 4 weeks, I was able to play. I think the song I played was All I Ever Asked, I think, was the song by Najee. I played at the wedding. And I remember this guy, Theo Oliver, who plays guitar. He was saying, man, you're a real frontline man, man. You're a real frontline man. How long you playing now? I said, well, about 4 weeks. He couldn't believe. Couldn't believe. But Uncle John always said to me, because we trumpet, he said, man, you need to forget about your mother and this Christian church thing and come and join me at Carnival. Right? He's doing playing police to play brass in Carnival. So definitely the music does run in the family. Even my dad as well was a musician. He taught me to play three chords on the guitar, so I can do that as well. So I can attest to the music coming out of that. What about religion? How important was religion in your house? I know you said you went to Methodist school, but you also went you went to Georgetown.
Georgetown was public
Was
government
public
school,
public government school.
but just remember that in those days, doesn't matter whether it's public or private, worship was every morning.
Okay.
You had to do a session of every student, every form class. When we went to secondary school, we had to have assembly and play music and so on. And then I also in my pre-teen years, I well, not christened, confirmed in the Anglican Church and took first communion. And I like the communion because every Sunday morning, this service starts 7 o'clock and so on. And I used to get a good dose of communion every Sunday morning. And
It wasn't because of the Lord's Supper, it was because you were hungry.
no, it was a good starting of the Sunday.
Okay.
It was a good blessing to the development of the Sunday. And then I was an altar boy in the Anglican Church and so on. And we had that in the home had to have worship. Getting up 4:30 in the morning, make sure everybody get up, come in the living room. Daddy play the music, sing the song, and so on. Sometimes you half sleepy, but you had to be up. You understand? Daddy was a full disciplinarian, so he administered the strokes when needed.
Okay.
So religion played a very active part in my life from small until as you are aware, I became a devout Seventh-day Adventist and in life, and I enjoy every moment.
So let's go back to Stubbs a little bit. Talk me through some of the fond memories of Stubbs, because you were born there, you left, but you came back. So your roots are very deep in Stubbs.
Very deep.
Talk me through some of the things about growing up in Stubbs.
Growing up in Stubbs that stand out to us. Everybody in Stubbs have a mango tree in the yard. And our yard, you go in daddy bedroom and you pick the mango from the window because the tree was right against the house on that side of the river. It's no longer there, but that's where we get our mangoes from. And then a lot of our neighbors would offer you mango. So we had Georgie mango, Paulover, we had all these different types of the mangoes we enjoyed, and it had no problem. Oh, Daisley boy, no problem, take as much as you want. So I benefited from the name Daisley from a very tender age. And enjoyed. We went under the school right below where the netball tennis court is now. That used to be the primary school.
Yes.
And then where Marsha John has the preschool now, the Stubbs preschool that used to be lodge, where from class 1 to 6 you went over there.
Okay.
Until Carapan. So below that wooden school below us, we used to go down there and pitch marbles, play marbles underneath. That's a nice place. You could have stand up and walk around and play marbles. And then you don't know these things. The back sheep, some little animal in the dust. Back turkey, you call it back sheep, and then we'll try to catch them. But the more you try to reach them, the more they kick dust and so on. And those were some of the fun memories. We go in the river right below us under these big stones and catch lobster and catch crayfish and cook them. One thing that stood out in my mind is that there's some grassroots right where the existing primary school is. And there was a line of grassroots going straight down to the school. And mommy brought home from the grocery a pan of Milo and had it in the house, and I tasted it and it tastes good, and I go in the grassroots and eat the whole pan. And I enjoy that thing. Is whatever happened after was the consequence. But it might have gone.
That's all right.
You know?
We'll see in a good mouth. That's all right.
Right.
So from today, Milo is the nickname. From today, anybody watching So you left, you said, at some point, and you went to Trinidad. Did some study, did some technical training, and so forth. You came back to St. Vincent. At what point did you start having a family?
I played marble very young for takes. So I had children very young. I had a philosophy that my children and I would grow up together.
Really?
Really, you know?
Okay.
So I started very early. And I think it's probably because of the marble playing, take the marble and knock out and you win that thing. Now I play marble for fun.
Okay. I hear that. That's some philosophy there, some coded messaging. I don't know what you're talking about. I can't pitch. And you came back. You started a business. Civil construction. And you were involved in what's some of the jobs? What are some of the major projects that you did?
I did asphalt. The time we used to use coal mix. So we make our asphalt and so on in stubs and transfer it to various areas. So I did like the Bonham Road. I did that road over 30 years ago.
Okay.
And that stood the test of time.
Okay.
I have the Bridgetown Bridge. It was a one-lane bridge, and it was right on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And it was difficult for the bigger vehicles to make a one-turn come around. And I was given a contract to widen that bridge 10 feet. And when we were there walking on the bridge, I said we cannot put the 10 feet. It doesn't make sense. We still have to. It ended up widening about 30 feet.
Okay.
At no extra cost to the government.
Okay.
And so now that still then the South Union.
So the Bridgetown Bridge, Bonham
Road, South Union Bridge, North Union by the school. All those bridges, civil construction was the main contractor that put those bridges in place.
So you've been building bridges long time?
Long time. The bridge that joins Sharps to Green Hill, that you come down the hill, dead end.
Mm-hmm.
And so we make that bridge, we built that bridge, and so now we can come from Sharps and to Green Hill.
That's right next to the Jacobs. So the senior police officer.
I think so.
Yes, I think that's right in the corner.
Right. Mm-hmm. That was a very challenging one because it was like a dump heap in the gutter.
Mm.
So when we excavated 20 feet, we still made in slush. And the engineer did some redesigning of that, and we were able to get it through. The on the leeward side, I did some work in Barreley, and that's it for this point. I did in Georgetown. We did at Congo Valley, several areas, and I enjoyed what we did. The workers really gave of their all, putting themselves. We had a good team. We would have to build morale in the team, like every month or so, and we'll have a little drink up gathering, and everybody like that, and build it, and then we have discussions and so on. But Christmas time is, and I think it's Easter time, we will on behalf of the company, we kill a bull and distribute for each the workers. And we had about 30 something workers. So we did a lot of work here in the roots, understanding the challenges, how we are getting them completed and on time and on budget. We never overran. Once we overran, it was not the problem of the government.
You saw that.
We saw
And what time frame was this? The bulk of the construction was done between what
1980s and the late 1990s.
Because I remember seeing a driving buggy all thing.
Yes, we had a heater, oil heater. We had excavate equipment, bugs, trucks, every single thing, and I operated every one, and I drive.
The bulk of your staff, your workers, you said you had about 30, and a team of 30. Was there any specific area that you picked them from, or
most of my workers came from right in the Stubbs Bible area. I had a very artistic mason, Jingles we call him. He's in Totola now. Very, very neat. He's from Bible. I had folks from Calder, Stubbs. Well, we didn't have Diamond yet as a development. And, but basically, most of the guys, I had drivers from Park Hill. We had a driver, he just recently passed, and he was from Cedar, he drove one of them. So we had a community that was kind of bonded together. So the social fabric of the job was one that is encouraging them to give your all. I could recall that sometimes on the jobs, you go to certain jobs. I did a job road repair in Sharps from the hill coming down. One guy came out there and started to misbehave and so on, and the guy then said, "Well, you know what you're doing, you know, you don't touch nobody around here." So we had that kind of togetherness that folks felt that way. That up to this day, those who left the shores will still call back to find out. You ready for me again?
Okay. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because it then makes sense that you're back home and you do construction, but I don't want to talk about that just yet. You coming back home, because I need to talk about something else. Don't forget, we're chatting with we're chatting with Louis Daisley. You might have seen this photo in the Alban News Network recently. So we just sit down to have a chat with him, because you might be wondering, who's this white man? And so this afternoon, we're delving into who this person is. And so we just chatted a little bit about the history, the upbringing, his boyhood days, his youthful days. But we're moving into another segment. Just to ask you, if you're not looking at the program off our platform, because I know, as both said, you would have shared it, and you may be seeing it on a different platform, you can still go and add our platform, follow our platform, Uplift with Sion Marshall on Facebook, Uplift with Sion Marshall on YouTube, so that you can get notifications. We do this program every Sunday, and we have another program that we do on Thursday nights from 9, Uplift with Sion Marshall. So if you want to get notifications for this program or the one on Thursday, the easiest thing to do is to like a page, follow a page, either on YouTube or on Facebook, so that you can get notification when the show starts. So we talked about your upbringing in stuff. We talked about you living in Georgetown and all that stuff, and construction. But you were also into sports. Tell me how you got into sports and sports administration.
When I lived in Georgetown, I played cricket for Bishop's College, football.
You actually played like
Played.
you went on the field.
I went on the field and scored goal.
Okay. Sure, because let's put on uniform, but don't touch the field.
Don't touch the field.
Okay.
No, those days. I can recall one year, Bishop's College won the cricket competition in secondary school. The next year, we were on top. That time, we had a guy, Dexter Sutherland, Robert Williams. He died. His son, Imran, is working with planting right now. And my brother, John Daisley, and they were the stars up front. And they were beating left, right, and center. And all of a sudden, when they were supposed to meet grammar school, they canceled the tournament. Right?
Grammar school free.
Free. Long time to free.
I think so.
They still prayed with St. Martin's in the same way. You know, when they have a good runner, we had good runners in Georgia. So when I left and went to Trinidad, I used to listen to Alvin Carney on sport.
Okay.
And in 79, I think it was, St. Vincent, 80, could be 79, but St. Vincent beat Trinidad.
Okay.
And Alvin Cornell on his midday commentary addressed the underdogs beating Trinidad, what Trinidad football reach now. And it sparked within me to give what I can back to the sport that I played as a little child. And when I came back to St. Vincent, I sponsored cricketing stuffs. Southeast. I sponsored football and stuff in both the league and the local football competition. And Dave Scipio said, no, we need to take the team to town and encourage. So we went to town one meeting in Lowman's Leewood School. They had a meeting there, and we had done well in the interleague competition with the team from Stubbs, from the league team in Stubbs. And so we made an impact. That time we had Nigerian Chinchi goalkeeper. So when they went on the field and they displayed their skill, it was Lennox John who made favorable comments about the development of the sport in St. Vincent. So when we had this meeting in town now, all of a sudden my name was called to be president. I said, but I don't yet. I'll take vice president. And so I became first vice president. Ian Sadi was president. And we started out during that period. St. Vincent did well. Went to Cuba, beat Cuba under the coach leadership of Lenny Taylor. And we had Ezra Hendrickson, his brother, Briscoe, Chan,
Fame,
Brazilian, the whole entourage. It was top competition in the national, to get a pick in the national team. We had, from that competition, we had five guys from the Stubbs area. We had Butu Charles. We had his younger brother. We had Kevin Gonzalez, Fawn Williams. We had Chinchi. And we had, those were the first 5 picks. Then out of our team, they had some other selections and so on. But we had a rounded national team. We had folks from Layu, from Barley, playing along with the Kingston teams, Sion Hill, Boy John, and then we had from Beckway. And so we molded a team of almost 25 players that anyone could have held their way in this sport. And so at that point, I took over the presidency from Ian Sardi in 96.
Okay.
So from 96 to 2001, I was president of football. Okay.
During that period, you talked about St. Vincent and Grenadines going and playing well in Cuba and so forth. What was the highest ranking St. Vincent and the Grenadines achieved under your tenure?
We were under 100. I do not recall, but we had Kenai Velox. He was selected for the CONCACAF best players, one of the team, they pick out the team.
Okay.
And Kenai made that team. I think that year Chang got injured playing against Jamaica, but we went to the Gold Cup. St. Vincent went to the Gold Cup and did well for themselves.
Was that the year when, or was it under your leadership or your presidency, if I want to put it that way, that I believe it was Kenai scored that 1 goal in Mexico?
Yes. Classic. Kenai looked up and saw this flamboyant.
It was Campos.
Campos, way up out of his goal space, and when Kenai look up, he just used that left foot, that dangerous left foot, straight into that stadium.
There's a comment here, as I cut you off. Kenny Sylvester saying that you're forgetting Bump and Osman Map.
Oh yes, Osman Map is Bump.
Oh, Bump. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, all right. So
and,
thank you very much.
Any goalkeeper who stood in front of Bump, ask Fitzbram. Any goalkeeper that stood up for a shot from was also scored. The goalkeeper, he had a wicked foot. He was here just recently,
Okay.
And we spoke and so on. And he asked me what I'm doing back with football. But we had some, and that team was a good team that bonded. We took them out to the Methodist Hall in Stubbs, trained at Brighton. At one time, we are the American military built at Diamond right now, where is the hotel there. They had built some shelter thing there for them to do their training and so on here. And we used that as our training ground. It was not the best, but we had to use these kind of facilities because the cost. That time, you play a football game here, you're not making money. Anything like that. You had to keep expending. And he used to be in charge of the travel agency in town. He reminded me sometime this year, he said, boy, every time we have to travel overseas and we can't get the money, you write a check out of my pocket and pay for the traveling team to travel and their allowances and so on. We did that in Mexico. We did that in Nicaragua. Mexico, Nicaragua, Jamaica. we trained in Miami. We had to pay that. And we couldn't be bringing the players into the fray of the challenges we were meeting.
Right.
So I just single-handedly just did these things without even letting anyone know.
What was going on?
And I can recall one time the management was so upset with me because I gave the players, I think it was 50 US each. Something like that. Little money, but it was
meaningful.
It was meaningful at that time.
No, two things I wanted to comment on quickly. You look at football where it has gotten now. Can you comment on what you see as some of the developments in the administration of football itself and the growth of football itself? One, and secondly, I also wanted to comment briefly on the development or improvement or lack thereof of the facilities that the players now play compared to what they had back when you were president.
Well, we only had Arnesville really to play any competition. Like Victoria Park, you couldn't see the goals scored down the bottom if you was in the stand because they were running down a hill.
Right.
And so on.
That is true.
We had several discussions with the government then to where the national stadium is now. We had a discussion to see if we could get a stadium built there, put in the infrastructure, the underground drainage systems and so on. And we got commitments for $1 million to do that, but we didn't get the approval locally to use that. The other option we wanted the Brighton playing field to see what it is, but then it means the Brighton playing field is used for national football and the local football.
Okay.
And so I looked at the last few games here under the leadership of Ezra Hendrickson, who was captain in those days. He you can see a structure is maturing. You can see the formulations. You can see some activities taking place. And obviously, there has to be the commitment from the organizing body that will kind of agree to push that. And once that is done, then the local, the team itself will be studying the game, how to play, what we're doing, and so on. Yes, there may be some areas for improvement, and that's why we have coaches, and that's why we will continue to develop along that. It's not easy to have friendlies. You don't make big money on friendlies to even pay for the hotel accommodation, and pay for the transportation, and pay for the feeding. When we did that housing in Mount Coke, right? We had to give 3 square meals. We had to pay for the usage of the facility. And thank God, Myrtle Jack, she was the person who controlled the fixing of the meals every day for these youngsters. The diet, what they're using. You know how much thousands of dollars
I could imagine
we had to pay, and nothing comes in. Right? All I had to do just write and give it to that. And so we have, I would say that there seems to be a upward growth in terms of the development of football. I would also quickly add that in my day, the players were a lot more committed to the task ahead of them. Those men used to train 2 times a day, morning, and we're talking about 2-3 hours, evening, and so on. Those men used to run from Sion Hill to Arnesville, couldn't wait on van, couldn't wait on ride. but literally run to this thing because most of the guys were in town.
Right.
So once they run through that shot, come up Town Hill, they run down. That is the warm up to reach down there. And then they had the challenges we had, the field were there. Obviously, there were challenges if we are having a cricket competition, the clashes between there, and we couldn't play as like every evening. We had to have special times we can play, and we understood. But the guys on the field were committed.
Okay. All right. So at this point, what I'm going to do, I'm going to open the lines. I'm going to let you know that you now are able to call. And once calls are coming, I'm going to give my headphones to Mr. Daisley so that he'll be able to hear you. Because after all, y'all don't want to talk to me. Or if you do call, you want to talk to Louis, right? But the conversation continues. So they're told, let me know if there's anybody calling out here. We take the call, and you can contribute. The phone number 532-7650. Now remember, it's a WhatsApp call. So you add us on WhatsApp 532-7650. Let me speak slowly. 532-7650. You add on WhatsApp and you call, and you'll be able to chat with Mr. Daisley, because after all, I know you want to chat with me, right? Now, at some point in time, Louis, you migrated.
Yes.
Tell us about that. Where did you go, and what happened during those years of migration?
Well, first, as I said before, I migrated to Trinidad. Trinidad was the breadbasket in the Caribbean then. And I spent time at work. Also, at that time, I also lived in Tobago. Okay. The 13 years, I spent 5 years in Tobago. Then I came back home, and then I migrated to the United States. I reluctantly migrated to the United States, but my children were, we all got our, what they call, green card, alien land holding, alien landed. And I had it for 2 years before I actually leave. I used to go up. If I go into England, I pass to New York. Going to South America, I pass to New York. So that I'm always in America then. And then I improved on not only my skills, because we doing construction in the States is not like doing construction in St. Vincent or Trinidad or Ocean.
What made the difference?
The temperature challenges. So you have to use for heat and for cold. So you have to do that. And most you will have 2-3 persons working on a building.
Really?
Yes, because it's equipment to do everything. One person doing the equipment, he also coming up, using shovel and so on. It's like they're going on an electric pole, one person going on the electric pole, he alone have his van and he going on the electric pole. It has to be a major disaster that they will have several people there with them. And also you had to have an eye for safety. You don't want an injury on your job. The cost of insurances will fly through the roof. And so you have to make sure that all your workers working with you understand the safety. Simple things like we working with an excavator, a bulldozer, whatever equipment we have working with. You just can't move and walk alongside. You must be able that the operator has eye contact with you and agree, give you the nod to move. Then getting a slap with an excavator is death. A bulldozer damages you is death. And so you have these kind of things. And mind you, if you have a serious accident on a job site, that job site is closed down until OSHA has done all its investigation. Leave everything as is. Don't pick up a shovel. Don't pick up the hammer. Don't do this. Leave everything like that and head towards the gate, and that OSHA takes over. And so if you get an accident, your job closes down. You have challenges, financial and otherwise. And if OSHA finds it is your slackness why you caught a problem, there's a big fine that you'll have to pay before you could open back the job. That's bankrupt.
Now, for those of you, I think you would tell me, but I believe OSHA stands for the Occupational Health and Safety.
Occupational Safety and Health.
Okay. So, what are some of the standout projects? What kind of projects do you work on? Well, I know you built your own properties in Poughkeepsie. I know that because I used to go up there and visit it. So I know that. And I can tell you a secret as well too. You can tell me, so I can tell you. He built it in a manner that the others around never saw. So they were no kind of construction because he at least bringing a little bit of the Vinci style of construction. But what are some of the projects?
I did a lot of prefab building foundations, where we build in a factory the foundation to the design of the building, transport it on a truck, and then drive a truck crane to the job site. And every day I installed a complete foundation. We did prefab buildings, complete above ground. We did consultancies for project management, construction management in road development in Camp Victory Lake. We did the buildings, managing the 115 acres of property, getting it. Whether it's winter, the roads have to be cleared. The roads have, so you can't just leave the potholes during the summer months, and winter time come, you snow plowing, and that drops into the hole, damaging the equipment. And we had to do these kind of activities. Obviously, you would agree with me, the worst part is having to wear 3-4 layers of clothing plus a big heavy jacket on your shoulder weighing you down. Outside freezing, big heavy boots. You have to put warmers in your boots with 3 pairs of socks, 4 pairs of socks. God did not make us to live in freezing.
I don't think so.
So that's why I like it. That is why I love it.
No, apart from the development in terms of the actual skill and doing the jobs, the construction jobs, the project management jobs, you also did some academic training. About that.
Well, you're doing these jobs it's a very competitive field, and you had government jobs for tendering. You had to be able to do your tendering processes, get these jobs so that we can function. And so there was not, I had to always be training, getting trained and so on. I did degree in construction management, in project management, both at the bachelor's and the master's level. And as project management deals with risk management and financial management and strategic planning, and the whole 8 areas of project management. And then I said, I need to do the doctorate in risk management.
Okay.
The term was $72,000 a semester.
Well, let me wait and check football. So wait, check number.
And it was becoming a little challenging.
Right.
And I had an opportunity to do business management, which is also part of the project management toolkit. So I said, and I had the opportunity of going to Mexico.
Okay.
So I went to the University de Montemorales in Mexico, in Nueva de Leon. It's the state. It's like how we have New York, right? Remember, Mexico is bigger than America, so people, you take what, 12 hours from one side to the other side in certain areas, because they have to plane stop, fly, and so on. But I enjoyed that. We had to speak Spanish, so I did a little bit of that to speak, to survive, to write.
Were you and Pastor Ferrari in the same university?
Yes, Pastor Ferrari. We had 5 Vincentians in the same time with me. One is Bajan, but he says Vincentian Brathwaite.
Okay.
Right. There was a gent from Barbados who was working here as a pastor. I met him there also.
Okay.
And so on. And boss, it was not easy going to bed like 2 o'clock in the morning, waking back up 4 o'clock.
Right.
So you had to reach in the dining hall at certain times. But the challenges were there. I took that decision. I had to go and complete it. So I completed my doctorate, and now I don't speak much about that because the doctorate didn't make me. It's I make the doctorate. Right. So Louis Daisley is very good for me. Forget about it. If you're in a special area and you're addressing formal setting, we will work with the doctor. But so right now I have my doctorate in that, and I sit down with engineers. In fact, when I was in New York, I hired the engineer, I hired the architect, and because like when there's an error, and the engineer is the project manager, and they had to make some corrections. Because the engineer approved the corrections to be made by the contractor, the cost of the contract goes up, and the engineer gets a percentage of the cost. So he gets paid for doing a wrong thing twice, to correct it and to first of all do it properly. So my job was, no, you're not getting no money for that. This is it. You earned here. And therefore, you're the only one in an industry. So it's a new system, like in the States, where the project management team is in control of the whole project.
Okay, somebody just telling me that the number isn't working, but we tried it earlier. 784-532-7650. Remember, it's a WhatsApp call. You're not calling it direct. So you have to add us on WhatsApp and call on WhatsApp. For those of you, if you just picked up your phone and call in direct like that, you wouldn't get us. It has to be a WhatsApp call. And we did check all of that before the program. As a matter of fact, that's why we were slightly late, because we had to try and sort that out. We were having some technical difficulties, but we didn't show that it was working. So 532, try again for me, please. 532-7650. This is the wrong number. Yeah, is the right number? Okay. So yes, remember we were chatting with Louis. Louis, while we try and sort out that, because I'm not sure why we're having a challenge with it. But what kind of budget you used to manage in the US, some of these projects? What kind of budget we're talking about here? Oh, okay, so we have a call. All right, hold a second. Caller, good afternoon.
Good
Hello.
afternoon.
Yes, yes. You want to
Good
talk
afternoon.
you want to talk to Louis?
Well, I know we ain't get into the politics yet, right?
Well, hold on.
But
I don't even get to the
I
politics
know
at
that
all. Yes, yes, yes.
I know that's where we're heading, right?
Right,
But I I don't want to say I am shocked because I know Louis almost my whole life.
right.
But other person have been asking what is his qualification.
Hold a second. Hold a second. Who
And
let
I
him
am
do
not
this to you?
surprised.
Say, the copy for you.
Hello? Hello?
Yes. Good afternoon, sir.
Good evening, sir.
And how are you doing?
I am very good, man.
I, I know we ain't getting to the politics yet, but I will call back when you get into the politics. But I sit here and watching and listen to your qualifications. And I am not surprised, I am not shocked because I know you for my whole life.
Mm.
And I know you're a well rounded man, but I'll pause to asking what is his qualification. Hey, when I heard you said you have a master's in this and then you have a PhD in that, and you never once came and brag about it, but as I say, I'm not so because I knew he's a humble man for my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep up the good work. Eh? When you reach to the politics, I will call back.
Okay, then. All right, you take
Because
it.
I know we have to go to the
You take it.
politics.
Yeah,
I
but
know we
you
have to get to
see,
the politics.
when I was doing my master,
Thanks a lot.
I made a commitment to myself that I must always
Right.
don't allow that PhD to get to my head. Stay as humble as you possibly can. You understand? Because I know a lot of people like thump the chest
Right.
and so on, but that's not my style.
Right.
I am who I am, and I don't have to boast about something because there are a lot of other people who have PhDs too.
Right. Right.
Right?
Right.
I can sit and have a conversation.
We have another call coming in, so we just hold that thought for city call.
speaking of their choices, one gentleman said to me the Friday that I see something in the papers. He said, I just kind of shunning it off a little bit by just saying, "Oh, no problem, man." But then someone came to me early the next morning and woke. Well, I'm looking for. Did you see the paper? You need to read the paper and so on. So I said, "What it is?" And then they told me what it is. And for all the years, that's my life of serving people, helping people, sending children to school, right? Without putting a picture of whoever that child is. I have assisted persons up to community college in St. Vincent. I have bought books, paid tuition. I have done a lot of these things and have not one day went out to put a picture of it, because in my mind, I feel that sometimes when you're helping people, you help people from the heart and not to get a picture, not to get promotion. So folks who know me and who know me and know of me speak. Sometime last month, a lady said, "You know what? Is you make my son reach so and so. You helped me when I couldn't help myself. You did this." And to be honest, I can't remember, because I never wrote them down. I never put a picture of it. And if you look at my Facebook page, you don't see anything like that.
So I'm getting from you, Louis, that there may not necessarily have been a contemplation of politics. Or was there, or has there always been? Have you?
No,
is
it was not
politics-
always. I think at some point in my time, I felt that football administration was the highest I would ever.
Okay.
However, so Vincent Beach came to me while at a funeral in Stubbs and says, "This is my last year, you have to take over from me." And I said, "I have to go to the States. My green card, my children need my help, they want to go to college, and so on, and I have to. And I can't do it now." And every time I came home, he will call me, "You ready yet? You ready? You want?" So it was always, this last time when I came home, it's people came to me.
Why?
Asked me to be the candidate.
Why do you think they came to you?
They know my history. They know what I have done for the children, for their. I have up to now folks that want help, need help, mentally challenged. I take care of that young man. He doesn't know anything about the cost. He goes to the store, the shop, he gets what he needs, and that's all he knows. Right? And right now, for the last, I would say 2 months, he has been living clean. Proud. Right? And someone with their eyes had not seen properly. Well, once the sun has to be bright in order for him to see a shadow. He does the same thing, and I'm proud of that. I don't have to ring no bell, make any noise. That is service. And my Bible tells me, he that exalteth himself shall be made a base.
And
you humble yourself.
Within the politics, we don't do religious part radio.
No.
That's
part of mine. I'm humble. And so now when I see a need, I help. So the people now in the community who've been talking with each other feel that I will do better service at a different. The people are the ones who are pushing that.
But what do you think you'd bring to it, though? I mean, you're coming in at this time. We've had the ULP has been in office for 25 years. That constituency has been with the ULP since 1994, so over 30 years. What do you see yourself as adding or bringing to the constituency?
That South Windward constituency was the second strongest ULP constituency in the country. North Central, South Windward. You didn't have to campaign. Sir Vincent brought and placed South Windward on a platform that we could develop. We have seen over the last 3-4 cycles of that we have seen a decline. And we have to take we have to be wise and understanding we're dealing with people. And you have to add to that 25 years in power. Some people, the ULP don't win and they won't go and vote.
Right.
Or ULP this and they won't do that. And some folks, because of whatever reason, may have other complaints and would want it. Always say in South Windward, we need to stem that slide and see if we could make a U-turn up the hill. Because if we do not listen to the voice of the people and understand what the people are calling for, we will suffer the consequences.
So you say the people, and based on what you're saying, people, you've been talking to people, and from where you stand, you believe that people are interested in seeing your leadership, or seeing or rather representation. But at this stage of your life, Louis, some people say at this stage you're old. So why try or why consider people come to you, for example, and say, but Louis, waiting so. What about saying, man, listen, I told for this thing now, man, I have time with that right now.
See, and if you're going on a plane from here to America, and the pilot is a fresh pilot out of training college, and the pilot is the one driving that plane from here to America, there is no road up here and I could pull off and fix the flight.
Right.
Your confidence has to be built in experience.
Right.
And you don't get experience theoretically in the book.
Right.
I learn a whole heap of things in books to pass the exam. But when we come outside and doing the practical thing on the ground, we have to have that experience. Why are we doing it this way? What you should be doing. Now,
No, the reason I ask is because, like I said, I mean, you lived in America for many years. You're a citizen there. You already talk with Biden, you already talk with Trump, but and the age stuff and so forth. And even as you look in St. Vincent and Grenadines, for example, the ULP has one of the things about the ULP is about it's refreshing. And so you see the ULP moving towards younger candidates, Abuto, Carlos, Isal Peters, Shakel Bob, and so on and so forth. Young people coming through. And so if you look at that comparatively, Louis Daisy doesn't fit into the mold of those type of candidates that we've had who ran the booster from the last election. So that's why I asked the question. Not that in any way you're incapacitated by age, but rather there's a discussion. Why do you think? You answered the question, but I just want to clarify. Why do you think that people are looking to you as an older guy, as opposed to and someone saying, but we too old now, man. He too old now. And how do you juxtapose that reality?
You need experience in everything you want to do. Every program you have, we see that in St. Vincent. ULP came to power 2001, and Sketch Edwards was held in the position because he had the experience,
Right.
and he had the knowledge to back it up, and he had the experience to get the practical together, and he did a fantastic job until other younger folks came and learned from him, and benefited and doing well. So now our Prime Minister can sleep comfortable at night, knowing that Edmund Jackson learned from Sketch. I'm just using real
examples.
Good examples there. So I'm not going to say that no, you can't get the young people. Some will have to fit in and get the experience to go on. When we go for a job, they ask you your qualifications, and then you ask for experience. And where do you throw? And we have to be very careful. We don't allow this youthful exuberance to just give everything and spoil some of these quality young people that are coming through. You will have to have a blend so that you can see what the development programs are there. How are we going to handle them? How are the challenges there? You have the public service system that some folks came to the system and they're doing what? We are doing a fantastic job in developing St. Vincent. We would like St. Vincent to continue on that road for development. And from personally, I feel there needs to be a mix. You could have 10%, 15% experience, 20% experience, or vice versa, bring in the younger folks to have that. And nothing is wrong with wanting to have young people, but we need some experience added to the first.
So you need a good mixture.
A good mixture. And therefore, you need folks who are good servants, they don't allow leadership to get to their head. They want to be humble and walk their way. You will be attacked. You do good, they attack you. You do bad, they attack you. You ain't do nothing at all, they attack you. You do everything you can. And so don't allow that distraction to take place. If the people want you to come, and the people are working with you, can we work with them?
And I think that's important. What is the voice of the people? Look, if I look at it different, use the same example. Dr. Gonzalez is quite senior, and the NDP is using the same argument about him being old. But the value, exactly, the value of Dr. Gonzalez in terms of experience, leadership, and so on is untouched. And so there, like you said, there is value in experience, in wisdom, and so forth. And one of the good things about having Dr. Gonzalez around is that many of the younger parliamentarians and politicians are able to learn from him as he does the job. So
and they may falter along the way
because they're human.
but that will help them to develop and build to where they will need to go. And the folks on the ground are the ones who are pushing. So possibly the 61 they're talking about. And one of my friends in Southwind was said to me yesterday, 61. So I'm wondering what is 61? Is when she explained what is 61. I said, oh, so you're in a ready pool. You know? And as I said to you, in my lifestyle, I don't blow my horn, blow my trumpet every place I go. Right? When you look at the whole scenario, between 18 and 35, that's the age group.
That's considered youth.
Youth.
Yes.
And that age group is the lowest turnout to the polls.
Right.
It is from 35 to when.
Right.
And so you need the old people.
Yeah, absolutely. They want to stand in line for hours.
Stand up in the line for 2 hours and rain with but they're not moving.
Exactly.
And to get to that. So it is.
But you need everybody.
You need everybody. So we shouldn't, because of my involvement in football, in cricket, in netball. I sponsored a tournament of netball for over 13 years and stuff. And they were able to produce 4 teams into the national cup. Right? And some names came through. The same way we have MESPO with Skiddy Francis. Giving of herself, training people. I had a conversation with her a couple of months ago. And some children supposed to come and meet her at the hard court in MESPO. Right? But Miss I didn't feel to come. So they ain't come. And she left town to come and meet them. So we have the challenges, what it is, and how we used to do these kind of things as youngsters. We tell somebody we're coming and we never go. And so we have to build and the confidence that if somebody is using their time, why can't I use my time? Yeah. So I think that's why, because when I started the thing, I said, who did this? What is it? How did this come about?
Right.
Nobody called me.
Right.
Right. I was not.
That was a big mention as well. Like, why Louis? You know
exactly. And we have to be able to build back that block of togetherness. Right. Another thing, like in the last electoral election that took place in 2020. If you take South, there's a pretty sizable constituency, geographically and numbers. And you take Proven Vale, for example, as the center point. From Proven Vale to Diamond, and from Proven Vale to South Union by the river. So this side of the river votes South Windward.
Okay.
The difference in numbers is 63. The northern side voted 63 persons more voted for ULP than in the southern constituency. So in statistical reasoning, that's the dead heat.
All right.
Right?
Yeah.
All it takes is a certain number. So politics is not only about going and walk around, but be able to
crunch numbers,
see where your weaknesses are, how we can do them, understand the 20-80 philosophy. 20% of people does 80% of the work, right? The majority of people just do a tiny bit.
Right.
And if you take those numbers, it means also that 20% of the people are going to support you fully. 80% who talk to you, there's some questions, but how can we do that? How can we work with that?
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So the polls said it. I was not aware of it. And I also saw that the polls continue to speak of other constituencies.
Yes. A poll is done in every constituency.
Every constituency. And there are some, the strength in our constituencies are reflected.
Right. I'm not going to get into the specifics of the poll with the numbers and so on and so forth, because that's not the point behind the discussion, but rather I look at the individual and how that individual intends to, if the call is made, and if it is that the people are saying yes, based on not necessarily direct talks to you, but talk to the pollsters and talk among themselves, that there is some interest in having Louis as candidate. That is a call that you're willing to accept.
If the people are pushing for it, and the party asks for it, I will accept it.
Okay.
And if the party and the people ask for someone else, if I am a party man, I will have to support.
Okay.
And don't believe because I am Dr. Daisley, I am better than somebody. No. Everybody, they have this on. They are willing to work. But we have to give the people an opportunity to voice their opinion. And let us see what can be done. I saw some ugly comments, and I said, we must not even give voice to those comments.
Absolutely.
And we must be able to grow, mature enough. There is no way in the world I can live forever to be a representative forever.
Right.
And if I am chosen, and there must be immediately a succession plan in place whereby we must bring these, because I will fail if I cannot help to plan my succession. I will be a big failure. Somebody has to take over, and take over at the level. If those numbers are right, we have to bring back South Windward to the 1,000 plus win victory over the opposition.
And do you think there is appetite though? And don't forget, those of you who are watching, the lines are still open. We've gone over the 6 o'clock mark, but I'll give a few more minutes because the discussion is nice and we had some little technical difficulties. So you can put in a call 532-7650, 532-7650. Chat with Louis.
WhatsApp.
Yes, on WhatsApp. And if you have something to say, say it. So I was making the point before I made the announcement that the as elections come close, do you think there's appetite in the constituency after the ULP has been in office for so long? Usually you would have a swing away from the governing party. Do you think that there's appetite there to bring things back to, like you were talking, 600 vote victory?
During times that I went to homes, when you look at the vote, the electoral and the polling stations and so on, you're seeing where weaknesses are.
Okay.
And you can pinpoint with some measure of, I wouldn't like accuracy, but it won't be 100% accurate
Mhm.
because you may pinpoint that these people from this area, these are the people voting at this. How can we saw a drop off? How can we reach these people?
Mhm.
How can you talk to them? One thing, for example, that I did not entertain was as soon as you started talking about someone else, I said, no, I want to know what would change your mind.
Okay.
And one gentleman said, since 1994, I voting because you take me and carry me to the poll in 94 to vote. And I vote in ULP. But 2015, I stopped. In 2025, nobody come by my place. Right? I said, but that doesn't change it. Tell me what you see we can do, or what can you do to help to convince yourself that you need to get back into the decision-making process. Because if you do not vote, it is as though you voted for the opposing party, the other party.
Right.
And therefore, you will have to take what they give. What can you do? I was able to sign over 200 folks, more than 50% of them who did not vote in 2020, to get them to sign up for the party. To become members of the party in this time, in this 6th term, that they are willing to take that initiative to want to make, tells me that there's some seriousness of them. I may not get the 100% of them, but if I could get 60% or 50% of them to come back, we wouldn't win by 200, we will win by 400 or 500.
Okay. Maybe I'll close on this question. If a caller calls, then that's fine. 532-7650 on WhatsApp. Why Labour? The poll clearly states that Louis Daisley is someone being considered. Well, the poll put you up against the NDP candidate. Why did you choose to associate yourself with Labour?
Your grandfather ran election in 1967. I have never, ever given an inclination of thought to shift from Labour.
When was that, 91?
Huh?
91?
67.
Where did he run and who did he run against?
He ran against Papa Joshua in, we call it South Central Windward now.
Okay.
Right? He ran in 1967.
How did my mother do that?
Yeah, mother knew
that. Okay.
And I can never forget one day was my mother had a set of roses plants in the garden right to the front of the house in Stubbs. And the loudspeaker was coming down the road. And please forgive me, I cannot remember his correct name. But Bull Rungs Walker was on the microphone. Miss Daisley, better go up the Greg's. Go for your husband because they beat him till he met his skin. And I was a youth, a little child, and I watched that. And it says that is the quality of campaign that existed. I don't want to part. Education. Labour always had that. In 1969, the first housing scheme was in Peruvian Vale. I attended that as a youngster and saw Milton Kato's wife had always wear gloves giving out, and she called the first house they gave out, the key to was a lady named Miss Sam. And as a little boy, I always remember. Right? Because that area was trash housing.
Okay.
So we had housing development was in Old Labour. Housing development is in New Labour, ULP. Education revolution, we call it in ULP. Kettledam Bill, Chumaka, Ontario, school, Carapan School, right? Education under Cato administration, we have folks like Panel Campbell, and these guys went away and did their degree and teaching and so on. That thing, Milton Cato was not a perfect human being, and none of us are. And education was part of the fabric of the old labor, and it's part of new labor, which is ULP, right? Our foreign policy. I've traveled, I've lived abroad, and I have seen where St. Vincent, under the leadership of Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, has been highly commended for the leadership and the way they're going for. So foreign policy is another situation that we should be very proud of. Infrastructural development, we did, right? When you have a school that having problems, Girls High School, Thomas Sanders School, grammar school, they had problems. We didn't put it on half-day shift system. We built a temporary structure, and then were able to think.
And I think that's something that I'm glad you pointed that out, because I never really looked at it that, and I've never heard it said that way before. Back in when I was going to school, when there was a problem with a school,
They put them on shift systems.
yes, they would merge two schools and they were shift systems. That was
Diamonds
and Newgrounds, Chomoka. I mean, you couldn't go. Yes,
that was the easy fix.
Yes, that was the easy fix. Okay, team, we have a call, so let's take that call. You have to answer because it's easy.
Good evening, caller.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, caller.
Well, it's good evening again.
Yes.
Mr. Daisley, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, right?
Yes.
I just said you made a statement a while ago when she asked you why labor, and I was meant to ask you a question: why labor for South Windward?
Right.
Being a not even my is in South Windward also.
Yes.
And the development and stuff.
Yes.
But you made a statement a while ago to say that you met your grandfather or father labor in 69?
67.
Father, 69. So are you saying that it doesn't matter what this labor government do because you met your father's labor, you will continue to be labor?
No. Caller, I use that as a springboard to get into the discussion. I look at some areas. I am, as I said earlier in the program, education is a Daisley's business. Because in 1897, my grandfather came from Barbados to teach and stayed in teaching till he retired. Right? Education is a key for developing any country. And I am saying that ULP has shown me, given me the understanding that they are willing to educate the whole populace. It is not ULP education or NDP. It is the country's education, and they gave education to everybody. That we are having so many people going to university, tertiary education, whether it be Caribbean, whether it be local, whether it be international. So that's one.
Okay, because there's one notion that I don't, where a man would tell me he come meet him mother, father, labor, or anything in that change.
I know.
I don't agree with that at all.
Well,
because you simply telling me no matter what MP do or ULP do, you're going to vote for them. And those are the people who normally go and vote, elect a government, and then the country fail.
I agree with you.
Also, I want I don't know if you had mentioned it earlier because I chewed out a while. What are some of your major plans we saw to know if elected and become representative?
Carla, as you said that you have known me all your life, I am a go get it done person. If it means in certain instances right now, if I ask the authorities for help for someone and they don't, and it's virtually difficult, impossible to hand it right now, I will do it for my own. Not because the government cannot do everything, right? We have
So you're saying if there's
infrastructural development needs to be done in South Windward. We have some areas like up in Simon, like up in bottom Victoria Village, coming back to Stubbs. That road was going up by Key, the opposite Knoll, and going up the hill there. You know, that comes right back out into bottom village. But that used to be trimmed by gangs. Yes, no longer there. We have areas in Simon that up the farm road up on the top there is it's virtually impassable. We have to do things there. We have to be able to see what programs we can help in the school systems. How can we help school systems? It bothers me every year to see the government spending thousands of dollars keep repairing furniture for the children to break them up again this year. We need to see if we can get into the help the parents to help in some way to help with that. Let us, so that the monies that we're spending there, we can spend it other places. We're looking at sports. We're looking Spartans Cricket Club from Victoria Village when Laurie and George, Danley, Joseph, and all these guys were there. Alfred Bino. We used to be winning national competitions in Annesville. Spartans gone straight through the door. The community togetherness that we used to have seems to have some challenges. How can we address them? How can we change them around? We had yeah, you were saying?
So this is it. Let me stop there a while. And I want to agree with you, right? About this example. You see, I'm not right? When we had that small field stuff by the Birmingham is now, right? City football, leaving work to come home to play football, opposed come to watch football. And we never had, and when the playing field was relocated and they had it locked up for a while and boys can't play football, men start to drink rum, men start to smoke this, and if you look at some of the top footballers that we had in stuff now, when you purchase stubs, it's basically rum drinkers, weed smokers. So I want to agree that it's the area really needs back some sporting activities in the area. We build football teams, we build cricket teams, netball. When you have netball and stuff in the day, you have to stand up on the bridge to watch.
Yes.
You know, we need back them stuff in the community. But I want to ask you about unemployment in the you say you have to crunch in partition much cross number. What about unemployment in the constituency?
Right. And you just alluded to the fact that when we drive through Stubbs now, right? It pains my heart to see some of the youngsters just by the shop, you know, looking for some drink, pity.
Yeah, because right. I mean, every shopping stop during the course I do when supposed to be walking hours, man, they drinking around.
Yes, all day. We have to be able to bring back that community spirit to help to discourage these guys from seeing as the only way out is the rum, so on. And it pains my heart because I could remember when Aubrey and James McLean and these guys on a morning when Bong struck and Cyrus struck passing down the road is at 6 something in the morning is full of workers from Stubbs. Stubbs was known nationally
Yep.
as where you can come and get quality work for your projects.
The best tradesman.
Best tradesmen.
You tell somebody the best
Now
tradesman in the country.
we are struggling to get basic carpentry skills out of these guys. We have to be able to, first of all, stop the turn around that appetite for sticking at the rum shop all day. I personally will have, like at top school on an evening and at Bible, some classes teaching guys simple basic carpentry. Because what we are having now is a ton load of labor. How can we move them from being a laborer? I told all the guys who work with me in civil construction that the same way you come to start to work with me, after 6 months, if you can improve yourself by 5, I will buy a hammer and so on and give it to them and teach them how to do whatever. We have to hold their hands now and bring them back to that situation. You understand? And address the issue of unemployment. It would not be done overnight because you're not just wanting to just hire people and give them money. We have to make them value their job, wanting to come to work, wanting to learn something, and we can do that. I am going to go get it. I will show you how to do it and help you along that way.
One final question, Mr. Daisley. You mentioned, and I could attest to this, that as I live in Sutton, I've worked in Sutton for years, right?
Mm-hmm.
That years ago, that was one of the strongest ULPC, and that's a fact.
Uh-huh.
When Vince Beach and Glenn Beach and others ran for that seat, they won by over 1,000 votes, 9 something. What do you think would have caused the decline in those votes to down to 200 and something?
Well, you'll have to look at the data that is recorded by the electoral body, elections body. And one would have to be addressing the issue from electoral cycle to the other electoral, and see one way you can get numbers sliding like that is that people change their mind and voting for the other party. But what we have seen is that the opposition party didn't really benefit in a number, but as the ULP was sliding down, that means they didn't go out to vote. How can we do that? How can we change that slide downward? Stop it, make a U-turn back up, is that you have to address concerns of the people. Don't take anybody for granted. They may not be educated, they may not financially be stable, but they need food. They need a livelihood, and not just giving them money to buy things or to drink and so on. But how can I take them and make them of value to the community? We have to address that issue seriously and get people back out to vote and also to work. Because there's a lot of workers outside. There's a lot of work out there that need workers. And if we're not careful, we'll have to import these technical people that we had here flourishing for once.
And I'm going to wrap up now. But the matter of age poll, right? Making the comments, and this is not showing any personal about anybody. But I live in South Africa for years. When they brought Mr. Vince to beach, I'm sure he was older than you. And they celebrated him. Have a good afternoon. Have a good
Thank
afternoon.
you very much, caller.
All right. Let me thank that caller. And we have actually gone way over. It should have been a 1.5 program, but we actually did 2 hours, going up to 6:30. So with that, let me thank Louis for coming on this evening's program, this afternoon's program. Sitting with us for the last 2 hours. It was really a pleasure having you, Louis, and there's so much more we could chat about. It's amazing all the time.
Fly when you're enjoying.
Flew by. Somebody commented and said it's my program. Yes, it's my program. But I want the audience, and I don't want to carry the audience for any marathon. But hopefully we structured it properly and with the support of. Let me thank Asbold for the support on his platform and everyone who shared. Thank you so much. And we structure this. We can do this every Sunday afternoon for an hour and a half and really get into some of the topical issues, some of the current issues, some of the trending issues affecting us here in Sydney City. So let me thank all of you for tuning in, for sticking around, for commenting. We really appreciate you being here with us. And again, let me thank Louis Daisley for sitting with us on this evening's program. Until next Sunday, when I'm back with you for another edition of the Sunday Setti, let me thank my team, my director and everybody working behind the camera. And listen, we still sorting out the issues with the calling and so on. It's the second time we're using it. We tested it properly until we started it on Thursday on a plate. We're doing it this time around, but we would be able to master it properly and really ensure that the quality of the program continues to improve. Until next Sunday, Sian Marshall saying thank you and have a good evening.